We continue our conversation tonight with Pat Hogan, who is vying to become the next mayor of Syracuse. Just before the commercial break, Pat, we asked you what your top priorities would be coming into office. You said your first two orders of business would be to reopen the Ida Benderson Senior Center and to reopen Fire Station 7. So obviously the city needs to cut somewhere, which is what the mayor had said at the time. I have to deal with a budget. Where would you cut? If not there, where?
Well, you know what? What we have, and I've talked about this quite a bit in my campaign, is we have to inaugurate a pathway to the consolidation of city services. Now, before I even take office, I'm going to, and I've had meetings with different county legislators, particularly the chair of the county legislature, regarding consolidating services. The city parks department has for instance, has a budget of around $7 million. The County Parks Department about $14 million. They have a long history of collaboration. I'm just tossing that out for instance. They have a long history of collaboration, and their mission's the same. So you could look to consolidate them. Also, I believe that we have to be more aggressive in growing businesses in this city. Right now, it's very difficult to get a small business started in the city of Syracuse. You have to streamline the business permitting process. Just over here in the lakefront area, just our efforts over the last 2 or 3 years, 33 buildings renovated. We've produced about $250,000 in tax revenue. So I look to grow tax revenue, and I look to consolidate services.
Would you see the city-county partnership that turned into one municipal government as a possible option?
Well, people have talked about that for years, but nobody's done anything. And I think with my experience in city government, long experience in city, 34 years in the Parks Department, 3 years in the city school district, 8 years on the city council, legislators have talked about this, but I think we have to start walking along this path. And I think that's exactly what the governor wants to see. And the fact the Secretary of State has grants for municipalities to look at this. But it has to be done in an open, transparent manner, and everybody's got to be on board about it.
So would you be willing then to close down City Hall and say, Joni Mahoney, you guys run it?
You know, down the road, I think I can see us being one metropolitan government down the road. And I think that's the way we have to look at that. We can't take any options off the table.
Interesting. The mayor's talked a lot about the pending budget gloom and doom, that we have these structural issues, that these pensions are very expensive, that the payroll is very expensive, retirement benefits. How will you overcome that? We're talking millions and millions of dollars, not just a senior center here and there.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, you have to have an advocacy. Now, the mayor sometimes attacks the governor, but very rarely you hear her talk about prevailing upon our state representatives, particularly the Democrats, the Democratic senator and the two assemblymen, to advance the aims of the city. In fact, one of our assembly people actually runs a committee that just deals with small government, and like municipalities and everything. Mm-hmm. You know, the governor came up with a great idea just a year ago about capping pensions to 2%. Now that would have immeasurably helped the city of Syracuse and other cities, but he couldn't get it through the legislature. You have to advocate when these things come down the pipe. You have to advocate on behalf of your people.
All right, let's look at the ballot a little bit, because we know that you are running on the Democratic side. Kevin Keener has been talked about as running on the Republican side. He's an attorney here in Syracuse, although there's been a lot of talk that he may not be interested here for the position. Will we, if you do not run successfully on the Democratic side, see Pat Hogan on the Republican ticket?
Megan, this has been speculated by mostly the media and City Hall. I'm not going to answer any kind of speculation. I mean, there are so many variables involved in something like that happening. I'm not even going to. I'm not even.
Well, it seems pretty obvious. You're a Democrat, right?
Well, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat. I've been a committeeman.
So why would you be on the Republican ticket?
Well, that's a question that has to be answered. I mean, why would it be?
Isn't it a simple answer for you to give?
Well, it's first of all, it hasn't been offered to me. I haven't had any kind of contact with Tom Dady or anybody in the Republican Executive Committee. Second of all, but there is one thing, and it was in the New York Times the other day, is we're probably going to have about 10,000 people, maybe 9,000 people vote in this primary election. They're probably going to decide the next mayor of the city of Syracuse. You know, I think as a democracy, sometimes we have to look at a way to get more people involved. Now, I know the hierarchy of the Democratic Party, which I, of course, don't get along with, we're now challenging the Republican Party, as bosses do, battling to try to throw any kind of chance of any kind of candidate on the Republican side. So literally, the independents and the Republicans, non-enrolls, won't have, and Democrats won't have a choice in November.
We're running way over, but it's interesting conversation. That's why we're running over. Thanks. Congratulations on
Yeah.
the campaign so far, and look forward to next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll look for you on Tuesday.
Thank you, Pat Hogan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for participating in the talk tonight. You're always invited to join the conversation on our website or our Facebook page.
All right, let's head out to the weather deck now for